Welcome in. Live chat for this week's FedEx St. Jude Championship, the greatest single hour of the week in all the internet, according to my mother. Welcome in. We are going to answer your questions. We're going to talk all things golf or really anything else that you want to talk about. I'll show you models and stats and trends and fun stuff and whatever. Just go ahead and drop your comments in there now. Hit the like button, do all that fun stuff that people normally ask you for. Also, watch this. I have a new layout. Pay attention. Boom. I'm in the upper right-hand corner. I think this might be better for showing stats. Make sure my face isn't blocking anything. I used to be down here in the bottom left. Let's try upper right. Let's see how this goes for now. Let's start with the weather. I just got off CBS Sports HQ. We had a live look at the golf course. It was pouring at TPC Southwind. Seems like it's going to be pretty wet. I think we are going to get likely preferred lies, lift, clean, and place. I bet you there will be a tweet that goes out from PGA Tour Communications at 8:12 a.m. Eastern Time saying, due to soft conditions, preferred lies will be in effect for round one of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. That is my official prediction for the week. If you look at how the rest of the weather kind of shakes itself out, if you believe this to be true and impactful, we've got basically 5 to 7 mile an hour wind all day, gusts in the morning up to 15 miles an hour. It does appear like around 1, 2, 3, 4 p.m. Eastern time, it will calm a bit, a little less wind there, although the wind direction is going to change. So if you're out on the golf course while that's happening, could be a little bit wonky. Friday looks like it'll be calm in the morning and gustier and windier in the afternoon. So by all accounts, this looks like a PM AM situation, does it not? Am I misreading this? Does anybody have any objections to that? I believe if you just care about wind and if this forecast is correct, PM AM will likely be better. Now, keep in mind, it's not a pure wave situation with 70 golfers. They're all going off of number one. So it's just in order. So there's not really, let me get to local time here. There's not really waves, right? But if you're talking about who's going to play the vast majority of their rounds between Thursday 1 to 4, you're looking at like, it would be like the last groups, right? The 12 o'clock groups. The last big group would be Homa, Wyndham Clark, Brian Harman, Xander, Hatton, Siwoo, Finau, kind of those two bigger groups towards the end of the day. So keep that in mind. And that is your weather and wind conversation for the day. Sungjae at 8K, hard not to bite on this. Huge mistake, ? And if you have any press conferences, have any press conferences led you to buy in or buy out on any players this week? Okay, we'll get to the press conferences here in a second. Let's start with Sungjae. This is my website, RickRunGood.com, and it's a giant database for golf betting and fantasy golf. I think you should sign up for it. You'll love it. I love it. Here's Sungjae. Do we like what we see? I'm a little bit concerned about the ball striking. You know, historically, he is a 3, 4, 5, 6 strokes gained per round type of guy. We have not seen that in a couple of months, since basically Wells Fargo. Haven't seen it since May. The results are there, but I do think that limits his upside a little bit. His history around here is generally positive. It's not great. When you talk about him being $8,000 and how that compares to everybody else, what I like most is that he's only going to be about 9% owned, projected ownership. So I think that we've got that going for us here, but I'm not outside of that. I'm not sure there's a lot. I think the 9% ownership is the biggest positive for Sungjae this week. I think that he is not as sharp as he once was. Ever since he won that KPGA event, the Korean PGA event, just hasn't been good. Hasn't been as sharp. It's been fine, but fine is not what we're looking for out of Sungjae Im. The press conference thing, I was just looking through the transcripts. Seems like both Rory and Scotty are going to be using new putters this week. So Scotty's going to go with the TaylorMade Spider, in which they have, from what I understand, customized this for him. So they have moved the weight of that putter closer to the front of the face. So here's the question here. Essentially what that's doing is making it feel more like a blade and react more like a blade, which is what Scotty wants, and align more like a mallet. If you've ever used a mallet, and I use the Odyssey 7S because I love the way it aligns, right? So those bigger heads are easier to line up, but it's gonna feel like his blade. Let's be real here. What's the worst that can happen? You know, he's by far the best tee to green player in the world. The putter has been horrendous. What's the worst that can happen? Is he going to lose a stroke per round? That would be kind of on par with what he's been doing. So I don't think there's any risk there. Rory is also seemingly going to go with a new putter, although he didn't seem as committed to it. He said, I think he has his Spider as his backup because both these are tailor-made guys. So let's see. He says, yeah, I just wanted a different look. I wanted to freshen it up. I've got my Spider with me this week if that putter isn't doing what I want to do over the first couple of days. So it seems like very much of a trial period, probationary period. If he doesn't putt well with the new putter, which is Luke Curdanine, who I love, he posted a photo of it. Let me see if I can find it. It's a Scotty that has kind of the wings on it. Let's see if I can find it here. Here we go. I believe it's the Phantom is what that is. So again, more mallet style, but he'll go back to the Spider if that doesn't work for him. So yeah, there you go. Two guys that I think are interesting, especially for showdown, especially for like first round leader, that type of stuff in terms of two new putters in the bag. 2 tournaments left, 3rd place out of 48 in my one and done. I have Rory, Victor, Colin, Tony, and Burns available. You have, Chris, you have done this wrong. You've got too many guys left. You should probably then play, I mean, I love Burns and Colin, but like if you have Rory and Victor left, I think you play Rory here and Victor next week, I think is the way that you do that. Which 3 of these 5 would you pick for highest finish this week? Fitz, Spieth, Wyndham, Harman, Homa. I would be out on Harman and Spieth, so that would be Fitz, Wyndham, and Homa. Hey, Rick, I'm in the money in one and done. We have this week and next week. I have Hovland, Homa, Clark, Burns, Kim available. What are your thoughts about who to play? I would go Burns, then Hovland. You know, we'll just kind of cover a lot of ground here. Instead of just rattling off these as much as possible. The Sam Burns stuff I can talk about now, and then we don't have to talk about it again. You know, I'm pretty high on Sam Burns here. I believe that he's riskier than others, but he's 35-1. He's pretty cheap in fantasy markets. His skill set, approach, and putting is historically the strongest correlated skill sets to success at TPC Southwind. It's also a rare skill set to have. Not a lot of guys on the PGA Tour have that level of skill set. The other thing to consider is he's one of the best Bermuda grass putters in the world. It's only in this field, with a large sample size, is Denny, Brendan Todd, Sam Burns in terms of Bermuda grass putters. He's got the course history. So like, you know, I'm going to be any question where one of the possible answers is Sam Burns. You're going to hear me say Sam Burns. He's riskier, right? I think he can miss the cut like he did it, or not miss the cut because there is no cut this week, but you get my point, right? Like Open Championship, he misses the cut. Canadian Open, he misses the cut. But the upside of winning the match play, the upside of finishing T6 at Colonial, played well again last week. The putter's been on fire. Yeah. So anytime you're going to get a question of like, Burns or these other guys, it's probably going to be Burns unless you have Rory, Rahm, or Scotty as another option. Who should I use for, oh, sorry, I think I might have skipped one of these. I try to answer them all, but I can't get to every single one. But let's see. Front running my one and done, saving max for next week, debating between Keegan, Harman, Corey, Connors, and Straka. It's not great. I'd probably go Connors there. One and done for St. Jude and BMW Championship. I have Spieth, Fitz, Straka, Harman, Keegan. I would go Fitz here for the course history and then wait and see. Maybe it's Keegan or Straka next week. If Spieth shows signs of life this week, I think it'd be interesting. Just outside the money in one and done, Spieth or Fowler. Let's go Fowler here, and I'll pause to take a look at his stat profile just so we don't get into a rapid fire mode here. The stat profile that Ricky Fowler has put up for the last 9 months is spectacular. It is, again, approach, play, and putting, which is similar to Sam Burns. He tacks on a solid, more consistent off the tee play. He's great around the greens. I don't really care about, you know, his two worst approach weeks since the PGA Championship, were each of his last 2 weeks, but that's different style of golf. It was Scottish Open. It was Open Championship. He still made the cut at both of those. The putter is red hot. He's gaining a stroke per round with the flat stick over the course of his last 20 rounds. And then the tee to green stuff has been great as well. So really like the way that Ricky sets up for this place. Mixed bag of history around TPC Southwind for him. I would throw out a lot of these. 2014, you can throw that away. 2017, you can throw that away, good or bad. One was a 13th and one was a miscut. 2020, he was a 15th. He was that was right before, no, he was still playing pretty bad there, I think. T15, and then last year, probably in the worst stretch of his career, he finished T64. So Ricky's a guy you can throw a lot of history out for just because he's been in that slump for as long as he has. TJ's here, says, I'm in the top 50 of 1,000 in one and done. Nice. I have Fitz, Tommy, Tom Kim, and Hideki as my best available. I think I want to say Fitz for next week. Is Tom Kim the play here? You can get hot with the putter and irons. So good question with Tom Kim. I don't mind Fitz this week, right? Fitz has probably the best course history out of anybody around this place. So I don't mind that. Tom Kim is probably the most risky guy. Now, I'd argue using Tom Kim in one and done, using Tom Kim in the outright market is better than using Tom Kim for your fantasy purposes, right? With a 70-person no-cut event, is if you have one guy in the field who does not finish these rounds, you are cooked, okay? But if it's one and done, yeah, you might be missing out on a couple $100,000 at this point in the year. It's probably not that big a deal. Especially if you're planning on using Tom Kim, you probably want to try to move up anyway. I think if Tom Kim is healthy, I think this is a great spot for him. He's playing the best golf we've seen all year long. He has 3 top 8 finishes in his last 6. Approach plays there. Putter is scorching. Is he hurt? I don't know, right? He was not on the pressure sheet today or yesterday, so we didn't get a press conference. I haven't heard anything else. He played through the injury at the Open Championship, and it's been 2 weeks. Is it worse now? Maybe a doctor can say, yes, it can get worse because he could re-aggravate it or anything like that. I tend to think it can't be any worse than it was 2 weeks ago. Is he going to gut it out at the FedEx St. Jude instead of the Open Championship? Or gut it out the Open instead of the, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, is he more willing to gut it out in a major than in this first playoff event? What's his FedEx Cup? I mean, he's 14th. He could sit this out, right? I think I don't know how big the risk is, but I think he's the biggest WD risk. 17th in the run and done. Wow. Trying to compare the final 2 courses, except Olympia Fields does not show up in the course key stats. I can find shot data for one tournament in the Holy Grail, but no info. Yeah. So historically what I've done, so you're talking about this. I have not historically loaded in events that have one. You can't do a regression model with 1 year's worth of data. So I've not loaded that in. Historically, it takes more than that. So you can get the Olympia Field data, like you said, in the Holy Grail. It's there. So you can see, John Rahm, Hideki Matsuyama, Tony Finau, Matt Fitzpatrick, Brendan Todd all played well. This is obviously, it's just going to align with the leaderboard basically, but you can get the strokes gain breakdown. For example, the best ball strikers around there were Rahm, Corey Connors, Matt Fitzpatrick, Ben Yon, Scotty Scheffler. But yeah, I can't run that model with 1 year's worth of data, unfortunately. Is Rory a better play this week or at Olympia Fields? Probably at Olympia Fields. One and done for the last 2 weeks. A lot of these. Young, Tom Kim, Wyndham Clark. I would go Clark here, Young next week. Who are some guys further down the board that actually have win equity? Okay, so let's get back to some of these I'm going to skip some one and done questions for a while and we'll keep rolling on here. Cheat sheet, RickRunGood.com. So guys further down the board that actually have win equity. I think that there are few names, right? So obviously, I think Sam Burns can get there. 8,100, 35 to 1. I think that Sepp Straka could get there. 7,700. He almost won this event last year. Lost in a playoff to Will Zalatoris and has been playing great golf as of late. So I think we can check that off. Can Cam Davis get there? Maybe. I think Emiliano Grillo can get there. I probably showed this on Monday's show. If I did already and you saw it, I apologize. Otherwise, you're going to see it again here. Emiliano Grillo is doing kind of what Wyndham Clark did, which is just adding a new skill set to his repertoire and keeping the rest of his skills. So since the Players' Championship, the best putters in the world are Denny McCarthy, Matt Fitzpatrick, Sam Burns, Xander Schauffele, Emiliano Grillo. Best putters in the world, or in this field, I guess I should say. So he's 5th best putter in this field. Still a very good ball striker. So he did not lose that aspect of his game, which is, sometimes guys lose that. And you look at the results that it is creating. The win at Colonial, T15 at the Travelers, T6 at the Open, T10 at 3M. You would not be shocked at all, or shouldn't be shocked at all, if Emiliano Grillo wins this golf tournament. That is probably the furthest down I'm comfortable with. Hey, Rick, appreciate the hard work. Is there a central ownership total you'll be looking at this week? How much is too much to leave on the table? There is never too much to leave on the table, quite honestly. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you subscribe to my newsletter, which is absolutely 100% free, every week I email out the optimal lineups. Last week's was $47,800. So it left $2,200 on the table. I think the week before that was even cheaper. Just routinely, there's just not an amount of money that I'm worried about leaving on the table outside of like 10K. So I don't care about that. The ownership, the combined ownership, which you can dial in on the custom model. Did I not open up the custom model? I'll open up the custom model here. And you can set, maximums for how much ownership that you want. Let me log in. Embarrassing. Stand by. So in shorter weeks, obviously, because there's fewer guys in the field, there's obviously going to be a higher average ownership. I would try to keep it below like 80 or 100 this week. But if you're feeling frisky and you want to go to 60, that's up to you, but you can set that in the max ownership. I think I like the upper right. It's pretty good, right? It's pretty good. Hey, Rick, is there any data that shows which is more predictive overall between weighted strokes gained putting or surface putting? Not that I'm aware of, but I can look into it. I've never thought about that. I'll make a note. $1 million out of the money for me in the one and done. Hovland home and Burns left. Any suggestions? I would go Burns, Hovland. Good luck. Top 15 in a 4,500 man one and done. I have Wyndham, Sam Burns, Tom Kim. Then you are probably playing Burns this week and Wyndham next week. You're asking about who the safest is. It's not Tom Kim, unfortunately. I'm going to skip a couple of these one and done questions. Who's on your betting card for this week? Okay. Again, caveat, don't bet like me. I mean, if we hit Lucas Glover last week together, great. Don't spend my money. I won't spend yours. This is just how I do it. You don't have to do it my way. 3 bets and then a friends and family bet. So my card is tight. Morikawa, Burns, Grillo. Is that a surprise to anybody? 25-1, 35-1, 80-1 is what I got on Emiliano. 3 guys that I think can win. 3 guys I think I have a really good number on. And I think it's going to turn into a TrackMan competition, and Colin Morikawa might just snap off and pop this thing, right? That's kind of the way I feel about it. The friends and family is obviously Victor Hovland. So those 4 are there. I got him at 20. On Scheffler, experimenting with a new putter. Are these the type of things just noted when journals and writers ask golfers about the equipment? What's the best way to find out about bag changes? Yeah, unfortunately, this is the best way. So I think the best source is generally Luke Kerr-Dineen on Twitter or Jonathan Wall. Jonathan Wall does equipment for the PGA Tour, although there's no way he could be in charge of everybody, right? But so he just kind of notes when Rory makes a change or Scotty makes a change or something kind of crazy happens. If Sepp Straka put a new wedge in the bag this week or a new putter in the bag this week, not sure anyone would notice, at least until the event started, right? Which is kind of a big problem. Hopefully the tour will realize we need some level of range reports. We need some level of equipment reports. It's good for equipment manufacturers should be begging for this. It should be blasted everywhere what these guys are playing, but different conversation for a different day. Follow-up question from a strokes game perspective. How quickly do these types of things show up as being effective? Thinking about Lucas Glover and the broomstick, Fowler and the Odyssey. Everybody's different. Glover's took a bit. So Glover, I don't know if he just had to get more comfortable with the actual broomstick style putting, but he started using it around here, Muirfield Village. So he missed the cut, lost strokes putting. He tried to qualify for the U.S. Open and missed about a 2-footer in a playoff to not get into the U.S. Open. He lost strokes putting at Oakdale, lost strokes putting at Travelers, and then he's been pretty much better since then. So that was a little bit of a slow start for Lucas Glover. Fowler's was a bit more immediate from what I can remember. I don't remember exactly when he put the jailbird in the bag, but it was, I think it was pretty quick in which that stuff started to come in. So unfortunately, the answer is everybody's different. Maybe I'm missing it, but can you add ownership to the trending golfers dashboard? So you're talking about this right here, trends tool, which shows you who's hot, who's playing above, who's playing below their baseline. Then it gives you this breakout candidates tool to show you who's most likely to break out, whose rubber band is going to snap. Can I add projected ownership to this? Yeah, probably. You know, the database works in mysterious ways, but yes, I think I could probably get that in there. Finalizing my betting card, need to get rid of one, Hatton, Hovland, or Fitzpatrick. Boy, I love Fitzpatrick, but I would probably dump him if those are my options. Any lean on this 2 for 2 for DraftKings? Rahman, Fowler, or Scotty and Clark ends up being the same salary. Let me check their ownership real quick. So Rahm and Fowler would be about 31%. Scotty and Clark would be about 35%. Same price. I think it's Rahm and Fowler. Obviously very, very close. One spot out of the one and done. Have Burns, Fowler, and Wyndham Clark left. You should use Burns this week, Wyndham, or Burns this week, and then C, probably Fowler next week. Can you go over a lineup building strategy for single entry versus multi-entry? There's a lot to cover. I wouldn't want to do it all at this moment, but in general, your single entry stuff is going to be more polarized in terms of ownership. So you might want to pivot just a bit more. Also, I think contest selection is more important in the single entry stuff, along with what payouts the 2x payout, where does that kick in? So at some points, Tyler, will Jock Market ever run a season-long golf contest or even half a season? So I hope so. Let me pull that up. We had talked about this. The problem is, not everyone playing every event, right? Which is really tough. And how do guys get in and out of the market? What if they only play one event? It's just, there's a lot of logistics. So let's see, is the market open? Okay. So the IPO for tonight is already open, right? So I can join this. This is stock market DFS. So I can bid on shares of golfers right now. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern time, if you're one of the high bidders, those shares are allocated to you. There's for every finishing position, there's a guaranteed payout. So like, let's just say, for example, I really like Steven Yeager this week. And I do. And I want to bid $5 per share. He has to finish 23rd or better to turn me a profit. And then the better he finishes, the better I do. If he finishes below 23rd, the worse he does, the worse I do. So I could put in a bid for, not 122 shares, probably just 12 shares. And then I'll find out tonight if I get these shares, or if somebody outbids me, I'll get a notification, and this will heat up as we get closer. Who else can I get? What penny stock can I buy on? Where's Sam Ryder? Yeah, Sam Ryder. Should not be like the cheapest guy. So I'm going to say 30th or better for Sam, which is $3.50, 25 shares. I'll put those in. And you can see my bids are coming in now. Check it out. They have a promo code, or I have a promo code. It's Rick. There's a link in the description. Get you a $100 deposit bonus. Yeager seems so close to getting that win. Is it a specific part of his game that is concerning? Is it just a matter of him putting 4 rounds together? Okay, so good segue into Steven Yeager here. I actually don't think it's I don't think there's anything concerning whatsoever, right? I mean, this is a very, very good stat profile in which he's been phenomenal from tee to green. He's been a positive putter more often than not, and a lot of his finishing positions between 9th and 30th. This is great. I think he's going to be in for obviously a bit of a challenge this week with the strength of field, but if he finished T18, I think that'd be a really great finish for him. this is a very good stat profile. Jaeger is one of these guys that we've been tracking from the Korn Ferry, 2 years ago at this point, kind of got a slow start to his PGA Tour career, having a great year right now. He is someone that I think might even take a bigger step next year, right? He's going to have, especially if he can get in, I think he's 58 right now. If he can get into the BMW Championship and solidify his spot into all the signature events next year, set his own schedule, I think you're going to see him take a really big leap. So I think this is an important week for Jaeger, and I think he's going to play well. Spence, I lost my spot. Hold on. Season-long fantasy question. Need 2 of Dietrich, Kitayama, and Thagala. Dietrich and Kitayama, unfortunately. Sahith looks a little bit lost at the moment. Is there a way to calculate strokes gain, lift clean in place? Well, if we had the list of specific rounds, and I guess I should be tracking that, huh? God, how am I going to go back and find that out? All right. I'm writing it down, Oliver. Lift clean in place. Can I go back and look at all the times that Twitter account tweeted it? Did they tweet it every single time? Probably, right? If I had a list of all the rounds, I would just designate them and we could do that. So if anyone out there has been curating a list of which rounds at which events have been lift clean in place, I'll add them to the database and we can all get a good use out of them. But I would have to, I'd have to get that information. Good day, Rick. Good day. I have Rahm, Hatton, and Rose left in one and done. Just 2 weeks left to play. I'm barely in the money. Hatton this week, Rahm next week. That one's pretty straightforward. What does your consulting work with players entail? I'm going to be intentionally vague here, but I will say every player's different. Not for the most part, but I would say half the time it's through agents and managers who manage multiple players, and they want to be able to keep an eye on trends and how likely it is for them to make the FedEx Cup playoffs, things like that. The guys that have the luxury of setting their own schedule want to know what courses are best for them. And a lot of it is like, am I going to be able to finish in the top 70, right? The other thing is some guys want reports after every single round. Some guys want reports monthly. So everybody's different. I'm being intentionally vague here, but it is generally just providing the data that they ask for. Okay. Hey, Rick, for DFS, I'm torn between these two pairs. Would you take Hatton and Fowler or Morikawa and Hovland? Morikawa and Hovland. I hit the first round leader last week. Who do you like this week? Maybe we should just be asking you, Robin, right? Let's look at this a couple of different ways. Strokes gain distribution. Guys who gain 5 or more strokes in a single round. Rahm does it a ton. Scheffler does it a ton. Jason Day does it a ton. Victor. Davis Riley does it at a clip that's pretty crazy. Davis Riley's ceiling is Patrick Cantlay, but his floor is Mackenzie Hughes, which is pretty crazy. So that might not be a bad one. The other one I like to look at is who plays well in round 1. And I was looking at this the other day, like Xander popped off, right? Where is Xander? Here he is. Xander gaining 9 strokes at the U.S. Open. He's routinely gaining 3, 4, 5 strokes to the field in round 1. He tends to be pretty good. How about Jaeger, right? His is a little bit more consistent, though. We're looking for pop weeks. We're looking for pop rounds. Who's got these really high poppy rounds? Russell, Henley, that is. What about Mark Hubbard? Not in a while. Harman's gained at least 6 strokes in 2 of his last 5 opening rounds. He's gained 5.5 or more in 3 of his last 10 round ones, and he's only lost strokes once since then. I also think he's got a decent record here. Didn't he finish 3rd last year? 3rd last year, 6th in 2014. That was a long time ago. Let's say Brian Harman's your first round leader. So Svensson's been playing a lot better golf, as Easy points out. So let's do a little bit of a deep dive on Svensson here. When everyone was excited about Svensson, when Tim Tucker, Bryson's old caddy, left Bryson and picked up a new bag, he picked up Adam Svensson's bag because everyone was very excited about him. And it was because he was a great ball striker. And then he kind of lost that, completely lost between Wells Fargo and Rocket Mortgage. Signs of life again. +2.5, +5, +5. Drivers back. This is the kind of guy, I don't know what his FedEx Cup rank is right now, who could make a little bit of a run, right? 7th last week, improve your position this week, get yourself into the Tour Championship. He's probably pretty deep. He won in the fall. He had a good fall, right? So it wasn't as good as I thought, but he did win. There's a chance he's like a lot closer to the top 30 than I think he is. Is this the live chat for Rick Run Good, or is it the Rick Run Good one and done live chat show? Yeah, listen, last 2 weeks, there's a lot of one and done questions. Talk about anything you want. Having a tough time splitting hairs in the low 7K range this week. Any data that shows marketable difference between guys like Grillo, Jaeger, Poston, Davis? Well, here's what we could do. We could go to the Holy Grail. We could do it by strokes gained, last 50 rounds or whatever you want to do. And we can just plug those guys in. And if you hold control or command on a PC or on a Mac, you can select multiple here. That goes for basically anywhere on the website. So let's see. They've all been pretty close, right? Between 0.8 strokes gained per round and 1.12. But how are they doing it? Jaeger and Davis and Grillo are doing it from tee to green. Poston doing a little bit more at the putter, which is a little bit concerning. If you like the approach plus putting aspect, you get Grillo, who's also the best player. So yeah, I think it's like Grillo, Jaeger, Poston, Davis would be the way that I kind of rank those. Overall ROM thoughts. Extreme FOMO, but feel soft conditions should lead to more birdies, volatility, creating a better path for some guys down the board. Yeah, I mean, Jon Rahm historically does not like birdie fests, right? And if this is going to be kind of a TrackMan putting contest, I actually think the preferred lies thing helps the whole regression model of approach play and putting. I think it's going to soften these bad boys up. It's going to be TrackMan, and it is going to be who rolls the rock on slower greens. Like that is kind of what it feels like. So I don't think that sets up, I don't think that's super great for Jon Rahm, but the stat profile is awesome. I think if you, when I was looking at this on Monday, kind of immediately with what I thought the ownership would do and with the pricing, I was pretty partial to Jon Rahm. Now the ownership is checking in nearly identically for the top 3 players at the top of the slate there, but Rahm is still $1,000 cheaper than Scotty Scheffler. So unfortunately, I think the weather hurts a little bit, but still quite positive on Jon Rahm this week. Is it safe to assume that driving accuracy will be more important than it appears in the course key? Oh boy. Okay. This is Ron. Oh, okay. Yeah. This is horrible. So, what I think you're getting at is when the course is wet and when you have preferred lies, driving accuracy is always inherently more important because you can put your hand on the golf ball. When these guys can put their hand on the golf ball, it is cheat code, right? And they get to clean it. They get to put it down, a perfect lie. So driving accuracy becomes critically important. So if you did want to run, for example, let's just get freaky and run a little bit of a model here. Let's say this is the wet TPC Southwind model. We are going to say, and it's going to be pretty basic. So it'll be, and we're going to assume that we have preferred lies. So we're going to say 20 on accuracy, 10 on distance. Then we are going to say 30 on strokes gained approach in the last 36. Then we are going to say 15 on Bermuda putting and 15 on putting in general over the course of the last, let's call it 100 rounds. We have 10 left. The last 10, what would we do on like long? I guess the course will play longer. Greens are small though. It's not like it's a super. Oh, let's just put 10 on course history. Duh. Southwind. Our number one golfer is. Oh God. Sepp Straka. How about this murderer's row? Sepp Straka, Jon Rahm, Xander Schauffele, Tom Kim. Andrew Putnam. I mean, Sepp gets the big Southwind bump, the big accuracy bump, the Bermuda putting bump, the last 36 approach bump. It is noteworthy that he's only a 72 value. Usually you see these guys in the upper 80s or 90. And that was a pretty basic model. Wow. Oh my God. I blame Ron for making me get to Sepp Straka. Is there any Grillo rant you want? I think I've done that one already. One and done. Players refresh in the playoffs. 2 players a week, and you get everybody back. This is the week, and 2 for next week. Then championship uses strokes, starting strokes. Wow. Okay. So then that kind of means guys like Rahm and Scheffler, you might want to save because they're going to be the starting strokes guys. So what you'd really want is guys that can play well this week that aren't necessarily in a great spot for the next 2. So that would be like Burns and Morikawa, right? And then next week you'd go like Rory Xander or Rory Victor or something like that. And then in the third week, you'd hope that it would be Rory and Rahm. Hey, Rick, love your content. Can we do a deep dive on why I'm single and in my 40s? Well, Kevin, do you want to be single? If you want to be single, that's great. If you don't want to be and you've been actively trying, have you ever asked for any feedback? Have you gone on dates and asked for any feedback? What ways are you trying to reach out to potential partners? Is it online? Are you trying to bump into them in general? Do you think that, you could go places where your personality could shine and you could meet people with like-minded, hobbies and things like that? Yeah, we'll see. What stat category did Lucas Glover mess up to miss that one cut during his current hot streak? If I remember correctly, and I'm sure I do, it was like the best miscut you could have had, right? It was nothing. I said that 15 times, I think. And I hate to like pat myself on the back for being like the miscut guy. It's the greatest miscut you can have. He gained 2 strokes ball striking, missed the cut on the number at a golf course that's incredibly volatile. Like, that was a nothing burger. Hey, Rick, thanks for a top year of content. We're not done. Fall. Then we're back at it. Ryder Cup. Let's go. I have Jordan, Colin, and Tommy left in my one and dones. That doesn't include Eastlake. Colin here, and then hope to get a little life from one of those other guys. All right. I'm skipping over a lot of the one and done questions because there's a million of them, and I think we're getting the gist here about who we should rock and roll with. Unless there's something super interesting. Season-long roster decision, Adam Schenk or Nick Hardy. Believe it or not, I think I've been sold on Nick Hardy. It's taken me a while. I don't love the way he's played all year long, but we've got some results coming in. The putter's been very, very good. We think that's going to be kind of one half of the equation for this week. I need him to hit it like he hit it at Sedgefield, but not lose 2 strokes off the tee. If I can get a 0 off the tee, a 1.7 on approach, and the rest of these 2 around the green and putting the same as Sedgefield, I think I'd be pretty happy with those returns. Sam Burns, the biggest liability for MGM. Thanks, Rick. Now he definitely won't win. Probably true. You know who else definitely won't win? Everybody in the field, right? What are the odds for the guy, for Scotty Scheffler? What's he going to win this? 9% of the time? Maybe. I know it doesn't come up very often in the course rotation, but any potential Zoysia specialist we could look at, I would have to pull that through the back end of my database. If you tweet me, I will try to grab that and tweet it out. Mama Run Good in the chat. Is she? She's always here somewhere. She's always lurking. Are you very high on Hovland this week? Not particularly. So let me look at a couple things here real quick. So Victor really likes this golf course, thinks it's one of the best they play. However, his history around here is not great. Okay, so he finished T20 last year, but lost strokes to the field in 2021, lost strokes to the field in 2020. So liking a course does not necessarily mean you're going to play it well. The other thing to consider, and I tweeted this out in my newsletter, again, rickrungood.com/newsletter. Just go sign up for it. It's very, very good. Victor's pretty good off of a break. So he's had 2 weeks off. He raises his baseline there. So I kind of like that, but I don't think this is a good spot for him. Xander's actually not very good off a break. He's 1.1 stroke worse per tournament off a break. Colin actually is quite bad off the break that he's in off right now. So you can mess around with that. But I don't think this is particularly a great spot for Victor. Yes, I'm working for MGM, but I'm not getting any money for it. So let's look at Rose, because I agree. I haven't thought much about him either. Let's look at what he's been up to and get a little bit deeper down the board here instead of staying at the top. Missed the cut at the Open, missed the cut at the Scottish. Played well at the British Masters before that. RickRunGood.com has the European Tour stats, European Tour metrics, strokes gained as well. Boy, he was kind of rolling until those 3 missed cuts in 4 events, right? Hasn't hit it well on approach. The putter's cooled off a little bit. What's he done around this place? Not great. Yeah, this is a little bit. Are we seeing the downturn, right? Look at those strokes gained, right? Are we seeing the downturn here? I'm worried that we are. I'm going to proceed with caution. Is there any metric or way to see which players hit the best approach shots or most green in regulation from the rough? Yeah, probably. So I'm going to have a new way to look this up soon. But if you go to the Holy Grail and go to the stats and go to approach, I believe there is, yeah, here. So from the rough and from the fairway, right? So if you like 150 to 175 from the rough, the best players in this field in that situation are Victor Hovland, Scotty Scheffler, Alex Smalley, Nick Taylor, Aaron Rai. So that's your bucket there, Kevin. Good luck. Top players in green in regulation. Okay, over the last, what do I have in here? 36 rounds. It is Scheffler, Glover, Norman, Neesmith, Connors, Hideki, Finau, Morikawa. Good luck. Here's a one and done question, but it's a very extended one and done with limited options. Day, Keegan, Straka, or someone else down the board. Well, I just ran that model that just loved Straka, so let's go there. Who's one guy you're staying away from this week that the public seems to like? I would say Cantlay. Cantlay hasn't had a ton of good history around here. He's going to be like the 4th highest owned golfer on the slate. You have options like Hatton, Fowler, Hovland around him, Xander around him. Does not seem super reasonable to play a ton of Patrick Cantlay. Who do you think makes the Ryder Cup team? All right. This is my official. I'll give you who I think should be on the team. That's different than who I think is actually going to be on the team, because I think that Zach Johnson will pick Justin Thomas. I think that he would not be on my team. So my team would be, and I'll show you the rankings here just so I can see everybody, as follows. So the top 6, Scotty, Clark, Harman, Koepka, Schauffele, Cantlay. That could fluctuate a little bit, but those are the guys who are currently in. I would have Homa. I would have Morikawa. I would have Spieth. I would have Burns. I would have Fowler. And I would have Cam Young. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait, did I say Cam Young twice? 6 and Homa, Young, that's 7. Spieth is 8. Morikawa is 9. Burns is 10. Fowler is 11. And Keegan. So basically, this is the list. Except I skip. Who am I skipping? How am I getting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? Oh, no, sorry. I skipped Keegan. Homa, Young, Spieth, Morikawa, Burns, Fowler. Wow, I can't count to 6. No JT for me. No Denny for me. That's my team. I think Zach Johnson's going to be on, or I think Justin Thomas is going to be on the team. All right, let's see. Could you run a bare bones model on best approach players and bent grass greens? What should we do? Bermuda greens? Okay, this is kind of interesting. And the question is like Sahith with a no cut event, right? I mean, he was rolling. He had the longest active made cut streak on tour and then has missed 3 in a row. I like the thought process, Jackson, of like, hey, you got to make birdies. You're going to get 4 guaranteed rounds, but I still worry a lot about this. He has lost 1.5 strokes or more in either approach play or off the tee in like 10 straight events. It's very concerning. Even when he was making cuts, and again, second time, pat myself on the back. This stat profile was I do a write up for Golf Digest every week, and it's like, who do you fade? And I swear Sahith was in there every single week because this was a stat profile that was just begging to be smoked. He wasn't even putting together the results that we were getting earlier. The upside wasn't there. I need to see more. Splitting hairs, Fleetwood and Poston or Clark and Henley? Close. Fleetwood and Poston. Okay, Stuart, we might have to mute you, bud. No one cares who the biggest liability on MGM is. Okay, no one cares. If you don't want to bet the biggest liability, you don't have to. It's your money. You can do whatever you want. You can't spam the chat, bud. Come on. Thoughts on Ben Griffin? Let's go look at Ben. Has never played here before. Missed 2 of his last 3 cuts. The other 2 in that 4 start stretch were top 25s. Generally a positive approach player. That's a good sign. Has been neutral to a little better than average recently off the tee. A little bit reliant on the short game. I'm like a 5.5 out of 10. Okay. I think the putting is going to be important. I don't love the around the green play. If he can keep it in play with the driver, which he doesn't, that worries me. All right, I'm going to downgrade him to like a 4.5 out of 5. How would you set your model? So I'll show you what I did on Monday, which I'm still pretty comfortable with. And I will talk you through projected ownership here in a second. So let me load Monday's model. Monday, St. Jude. So I did 15 on strokes gained off the tee last 100, 28 on strokes gained approach last 26, 8 on last 50 around the green, 10 on last 100 putting. I did 10 on fantasy points scoring, 9 on implied win odds, and then I did probably Bermuda putting. Yeah, 10 on Bermuda putting. What I would also do, and then course history, I did Sedgefield or Southwind for 10. I would probably go back and adjust. I would change off the tee last 100. I'd put 5 there, and I'd put 10 on accuracy, assuming we are going to get lift, clean, and play. So a little bit of assumptions there, but Rahm, Scheffler, Xander, Fowler, Rory, Colin, Fitzpatrick, Henley, Hatton, Wyndham, Clark. That's my top 10. I'm certainly warming on Straka. How is strokes gained off the tee calculated? Like, is the weights for distance and accuracy equal? So you kind of have to back out of it, right? The easiest way that I think about it is to back out of it, right? So each hole has a scoring average, right? 4.5, 4.2, whatever. The putter, right? So if you make an 8-foot putt, you gain a half a stroke to the field because the average from there is 1.5. Then they take the scoring average from all the different locations you could possibly be in. So if you drive a ball 320 yards down the middle of the fairway, your scoring average from there is a lot better than if you were to drive it 200 yards in the rough. So that the difference between those scoring averages, simply put, is what your strokes gained off the tee is. Now, there's other things that can challenge it. Distance and accuracy are not necessarily equal, but it's based on what your scoring averages are there. We haven't talked about Eric Cole yet. Eric Cole does do the two things that you want to do. Hot putter, hot approach play. I was admittedly down on Eric Cole last week because I thought you were going to have to be pretty darn good off the tee at Sedgefield. For him to lose 2.5 strokes off the tee and still finish 14th, the cool part about Eric Cole is this is so on brand. He is playing exactly on brand. And I think that this is a better spot for him than Sedgefield was. It's also a much tougher field. I'm pretty warm on Cole. What is the projected ownership for Ben On? I have him at 10.5%. Oh, I'll show you. Sorry. 10.5%. Fourth place in my one and done, 2 million behind the leader. I have Xander, Harman, Fitz. Oh boy, you have a lot of people available. You should probably just play. I'd play like Fitz here and then Xander next week. That's what I would do. I have not decided this yet, AJ. Do you plan on doing a one and done starting in September, or will it start in January with the new calendar season? I don't know. And I don't know how the data is going to work. I don't know if providers are going to offer the fall. I imagine they will. I need to figure this out. It's also the time of year where I'm going to have to just go through and I'm going to have to process hundreds of payouts for one and done and the season-long fantasy leagues. And I'm going to be like, so over it. So I don't know, then in a couple of days, I'll grow on it, but that's TBD. Hey, Rick, what's up? A bit off topic, but do you have a card for the AIG Women's Open this week? I do not. No. I haven't followed it closely enough, admittedly. I wish I did, but I didn't. I posted a question yesterday about a model that disappeared. It was the second question posted. What happened? I don't know, Kevin. I don't control YouTube's chat. Just post it again if you don't see it. And also, some people think I answer every single question. I don't. And I also usually don't even read the names, so it's not personal. I would love to be able to click a golfer's name to access their profile on RickRunGood. That is coming. A little confused on Jock Market. During the week when I bid on someone, does someone have to be selling the golfer at that price for me to get him? Not right now. Right now is the initial public offering, IPO. So right now you're just bidding. And if you're one of the high bidders at 9 p.m. tonight, those shares go into your portfolio. Now, during the live tournament, it's like the stock market, right? You need a buyer, you need a seller. But right now we're just bidding. That happens on Wednesdays. One vote here to keep it in the upper right. Ooh, okay. In game theory, does it make more sense to lean on ownership more than stats? Probably. Does anyone else listen to know who to fade? See, value for everybody. Love that. General golfer question. What is wrong with Ludwig on Saturdays? Nothing. I don't know if I want to answer this. It says, does Victor ever open the door for you and for you to give data golf suggestions, or is it strictly buddy? Do you ever chirp him for a bad shot tournament? Yes to the last one. He's a very normal guy. Honestly, we talk more about other things that are not golf related, but obviously we talk about golf. I prefer Grillo this week over Henley. Can you go over the new schedule? I was a little confused. Is there a fall season or does it start? Both in the start of the century. So both. The fall is going to be there's the FedEx Cup points in the fall are not going to carry over to January. You are going to have guys playing in the fall for money and jockeying for position. And then in January, that's when like the FedEx Cup points list is going to start. There's 8 signature events. 3 of them have cuts. There's the 4 majors, the players, and one event I'm not thinking of. Maybe it's not called the Tournament of Champions anymore. It's called the Century because getting into the BMW Championship gets you into it now. Is there a way to see the course key stats data in a list view on RickRunGood.com? So this Oh, okay. So Eric, you want to see, like, for example, a table that says, okay, approach the green is 9th here, but I want to see where it's like 8th and 7th, something like that. I can do that for you. Couple minutes to go. Let me, and I've answered, I mean, there's a million one and done questions that I've answered. A lot of questions about players that I've already answered. There was something, and I scrolled past it, but there was something about slow green. Somebody said, can you do, I don't know what it said, but it's something about slow greens. So if you go to the model and go to putting on slow green, I'm just going to put all of our weights here just so we have it. Like the best slow green, well, Denny McCarthy, no surprise. Hatton, Montgomery, Brendan Todd, Andrew Putnam, Taylor Moore, Matt Fitzpatrick, Patrick Rogers, Matt Fitzpatrick Rogers, Eric Cole, Sam Burns, Tommy Fleetwood, top 11. I've heard some chatter about this tournament not being a place where the best of the best have won or haven't won. Any data to back that up, or does it impact? No, I don't care about that. Also, the other thing to consider is this event hasn't always been like a big time event, right? It was the FedEx St. Jude Classic. It was just a regular full field event. Then it got WGC treatment for a bit, which is pretty top heavy, but you get like 10 or 12 guys at the bottom that are not particularly great. And then, now it being a playoff event. So I wouldn't look too much into that. What players benefit most from no cut? Birdie makers and high upside guys that like might have one bad round that would normally force them to miss the cut, but they can snap off and gain like 6 strokes of the field in 3 straight. Do you think there's a real chance Brooks falls out of the top 6? And if so, is he on the team? Well, So yeah, I guess there is a real chance Brooks falls out, right? Because there's a lot of money on the line. And this is based on money. So like if Homa won this week and Cam Young won next week, it would bump Brooks. Brooks doesn't have any money left to earn. He doesn't have any points left to earn. So that would bump him out of the top 6. Either way, I think he's in. Can't have a guy win and then also finish second in a major and probably not be on the Ryder Cup team. I've bet Chris Morikawa top 10, and I bet Emiliano Grillo top 20. Yeah, a lot of similar questions here. One and done. Max Homa. Rick is feisty today. I'm not feisty. If you post the same, it doesn't matter what it is. If you say, Rick, you're the man, and you post it 15 times, it's going to be annoying. If you think that the main topic of conversation should be who the biggest liability at BetMGM is, like you're just not in the right spot. That's fine. And this place might not be for you. And actually, as of right this moment, Colin Morikawa is the biggest liability at BetMGM. Sam Burns is second, though. John Rahm. And also, that Sam Burns thing, it's one big bet, I think, because he's not top 3 in handle. He's not top 3 in highest ticket amount, but he's one of the bigger liabilities, which means one person probably put down $1,500 on Sam Burns. It's just silly. It's just silly. All right. I think we're done. I appreciate all you guys. Let's subscribe to RickRunGood.com. You'll love it. Subscribe to my newsletter, absolutely free. Play Jock Market with me tonight. There's a promo code in the description. Everything you need is in the description. I am going to sign off, eat a little bit of lunch, catch a little break, and do a live chat later tonight. Good luck.